Every single stock and the entire stock market itself will be tokenized on chain. And it's already happening. But what we just saw announced from the NASDAQ is very, very significant. And we need to talk about this. So welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. So let's dive on in real quick to the tokenized market. Total RWAs on chain, $21.62 billion. Stocks themselves, right? Roughly $500 million. Nothing too significant just yet. But the good news is that we are starting to see stocks get tokenized. And what's crazy about this is that XRP is making up over $55.4 million worth of this total value. Now, Algorand is obviously winning here because they have about $408.8 million tied to just Algorand. But it's great to see XRP making some waves here. And I have noticed that the XRP ledger does have now over $114 million tied to it. This is actually up almost 10% in the last 30 days. We could also see that the main growth here was Archix. So Archix did add over $109 million to the XRP ledger. RLUSD is obviously $94 million worth, but we're not actually counting stable coins. If we were, we would be well over $200+ million. But the main thing here is tokenized stocks and tokenized treasuries, global bonds, things like that. And we can see that there's 4 products right now on the XRP ledger. And around stocks, almost $4 million, which is great to see from a name like Archix. Now, do I think that the XRP ledger is going to have a lot more RWAs tied to it? 100%. Do I think that this value right now that is on the XRP ledger is going to affect the value of XRP? Absolutely not. This is less than 10%, not even 10%, 0.10% of the market cap of XRP. So this is not going to affect the price or the value of XRP itself just yet. We still need a lot more RWA value tied to the ledger, but it is a good start. Now, talking more so about that, we do know that over the last couple months, we have been seeing a big surge in CEOs urging the SEC to get the ball rolling on tokenization. Back in January, we did see Robinhood CEO Vlad Tenev call on the SEC to update investor rules and allow equity tokenization for startups. The same month, we also saw Larry Fink say that he's a huge believer in crypto and tokenization and that he wants the SEC to rapidly approve tokenization of RWAs. Check it out.
As a huge believer of crypto and blockchain and tokenization, I want the SEC to rapidly approve the tokenization of bonds and stocks.
Bonds and stocks. So yeah, listen, we are starting to see a major accelerated push on tokenization of RWAs, and it's more so a push on the regulator side, right? And we also know that around the beginning of the month, we saw this. How big is the potential of tokenization? So big that BlackRock CEO Larry Fink just dedicated a huge section of his recent annual letter to investors on tokenization. Every stock, every bond, every fund, every asset can be tokenized. If they are, it will revolutionize investing. And here we have a whole breakdown of tokenization. Look at, this is coming from BlackRock, an asset manager that has $10 trillion tied to them. And by the way, if we are looking at some of these names here, like Securitize is a BlackRock-backed protocol, an institutional player. Commodities, we also have private credit here. You have global bonds. But when you're looking through this, it's very important to look at the names. So for an example, if we scroll down, we could see BlackRock has $2.5 billion tied to it already through Securitize. We also have additional players here that are tokenizing quite a bit of money as well. But the main driver here is BlackRock. BlackRock is absolutely killing the game. And that's exactly why we are starting to see such a big focus put on tokenization from BlackRock. And they're urging the SEC to get behind this. Now, on top of that, we also have over here the total addressable market and why Larry Fink is so, behind tokenization. Like, he is fully all in on tokenization. Today, the value of all tokenized assets is less than $250 billion. Honestly, when we're thinking about it, if we scratch stablecoins off the list, $21.62 billion is nothing. If we're talking about total stablecoin value, combined with the total RWA on chain, then yeah, we're a little bit over $250 billion. That's still nothing, because the total addressable market of RWAs is over $750 trillion. Here we actually have that entire total addressable market broken down from private credit, US dollars, corporate bonds, US Treasury debt, non-US government debt, stocks, commodities, and even real estate. We don't even have derivatives on here, okay? Which is a huge area of focus, because that quickly puts the $750 trillion value well over $1 quadrillion. Again, when we are talking about what's happening here compared to, where we are at right now, we have so much more growth left to hit this market. The value, the volume, and the amount of institutional players and users that will flood into this space is going to be insane. But on top of this, let's look at what the NASDAQ announced. Going back to March 7th, they announced that NASDAQ is bringing 24-hour trading to the NASDAQ stock market. Okay, now they announced this back in the beginning of March. And we have the markets never sleep, should trading. And then we also have over here, the question is not whether we can build a market that operates 24/5, but how we do so in a way that strengthens investor confidence in US capital markets today. I do think that with how this current admin is operating, they are going to do this through stablecoins and through DLT. We also know that we just got a big update from the NASDAQ on the 25th, so just recently. New NASDAQ calls for clearer digital asset rules in letter to the SEC. In a new letter, NASDAQ urges the SEC to create a regulatory framework that properly classifies digital assets, arguing they can fit into existing markets with the right oversight. So now we have the NASDAQ calling for clearer digital asset rules and urging the SEC to get behind this. At the same exact time that Larry Fink was urging the SEC, Vlad Tenev was urging the SEC, like, now is the time for the SEC to fully focus on this. And by the way, in that letter in the announcement around 24-hour trading to the NASDAQ stock market, the president of NASDAQ put out a post on LinkedIn, and we have from the open outcry trading pits of the past of today's real-time globally interconnected electronic markets, investors and industry participants have greatly benefited from the modernization of markets. That's why NASDAQ will enable 24-hour trading on the NASDAQ stock market, pending regulatory approval and alignment with critical industry infrastructure providers. We anticipate our timeline being in the second half of 2026. The global growth of investor demand for U.S. equities means we stand at another pivotal moment for our markets to broaden investor access, expand wealth building opportunities, and redefine how markets function. While the promise of round-the-clock trading can make our markets more accessible, it also demands careful and deliberate planning. Liquidity, transparency, and integrity remain the lifeblood of vibrant markets, and any structural change must uphold these principles. Our long-standing history of technology and infrastructure investments into our markets will ensure that we bring world-class 24-hour trading experience with stability, capacity, and resiliency to market participants and investors. At NASDAQ, we are ready to meet the opportunities and challenges that extending trading hours present by doing what we have always done, embracing innovation while maintaining the integrity of our markets. So how are they going to do this? Well, What have we been hearing for the last couple months? Tokenization of every single stock, every single bond. And by the way, we just got an announcement from the New York Stock Exchange, March 27th, the owner of the New York Stock Exchange, ICE, to explore USDC stablecoin tokenized funds for capital markets. When we are thinking about what's happening here, we are about to witness a complete change of everything, including how stocks are traded, including how bonds are traded. Everything of value is going to move on chain. And even Vlad Tenev told us this back in July of 2024. You don't have to squint too hard to imagine a world where stocks are on blockchains. This is Robinhood's co-founder and CEO, Vlad Tenev. He thinks tokenization will represent the next transition.
Become the place that all the millennials are putting all their money in the future.
Yeah, I'll start with crypto. I think when a lot of people hear crypto, they sort of like gravitate towards meme coins and speculation. And I think there's a part of the crypto markets that's certainly, and it draws a lot of attention. But I think what we have the benefit of seeing, because we sort of like have both of these businesses, right? And we can see them side by side, and we now can look at crypto in the EU, brokerage in the UK as well, is the cost of running a crypto business is like an order of magnitude lower. Because you get to leverage so much of the public infrastructure, and these public blockchains do a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to settlement and transactions, that there's just like a obvious technology advantage in putting more and more stuff on that infrastructure. It's kind of like going from mainframes to on-premise to cloud. I think the next transition for financial services will be more and more of these things are going to go on blockchains, and more of what we consider kind of traditional financial products will be traded and custodied on blockchains as well. And you can, to some degree, see this with dollar stablecoins overseas. The bulk of transaction volume on crypto rails is dollar stablecoin right now. And the reason is overseas, people want dollars, and the easiest and most straightforward way to get them is through some of these stablecoin products. And you don't have to squint too hard to imagine a world where stocks are on blockchains and are tokenized. Other assets like fixed income are there as well. And there's like a view of crypto as a technology layer that's going to be really accelerated once people understand that there's just like a huge efficiency advantage. And so I think that's interesting. I think that'll become increasingly clear, and Robinhood can be a leader there.
And yeah, I mean, listen, if we think about what Robinhood announced, and this is one day prior to this announcement, Vlad Tenev put out a full, this is like a full article on how the US, if they really want to take crypto seriously, now is the time to go all in on tokenization. And by the way, yes, this also does include stablecoins. Stablecoins and tokenization can 100% make the US a leader in crypto. But we can't get there without the SEC providing the clarity, which is why we continue to see the NASDAQ, Vlad Tenev, even Larry Fink, all of these CEOs, all of these big companies are urging the SEC to get behind this. But this announcement from the NASDAQ is massive. I would argue that this is bigger than what, Vlad Tenev was asking, and even what Larry Fink was saying, because this is one of the biggest players around stocks. So when we are thinking about what's going on here, we are witnessing the revolution happening in real time. We are also witnessing tokenization. This is the start of the snowball effect. We're at $21.62 billion. From this point on, this value will grow substantially. The second that we start to hit larger numbers, I'm talking about 100 billion, 500 billion, 1 trillion. From that point on, it is going to be insane because it's just like any other market. The second you hit 1 trillion, the next trillion happens very quick. Crypto hit 1 trillion back in 2020 and hit 3 trillion over the course of the next 12 months. To get to that first trillion around crypto, it was it was a very long time and it was extremely challenging. But the next 2 trillion that got added to the market cap happened in a very short amount of time. So this is exactly why we look at some of these values. We look at what's happening around the tokenization space. We look at what the big CEOs are telling us. And now we can actually see what's happening. Tokenization has taken over. It might be small right now, but the key focus here is stablecoins, because even the NASDAQ is talking about, utilizing stablecoins essentially. How we can embrace this new technology to not only, have 24/5 trading, but also to improve our capital markets. And the best way to do that is through stablecoin initiatives and tokenization. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely will like, subscribe, set notifications on because of more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord on the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.